it sounds funny, but that's the whole point. That's the whole thing. Because what happens normally, we put our hoods on before we wrestle in the match, and it's almost like now we're at a funeral. We stop being ourselves. We stop having fun. So when you're warming up, when you're on triple deck or whatever, you're on deck, keep having fun. Roll around like in the back if you have to. Like if you guys have a mat behind you, behind the bench, something like that. Absolutely. What else can we do? I want 2 more examples. 2 more examples. What can you do to have fun? Yes.
And then talk to B-Ram.
Okay. About what?
He's never serious, so.
Okay. and what will you do?
Just like think about something funny that happened, like outside wrestling, like if something makes you laugh.
Yeah, fine. And again, I want this to be done, like, we're not trying to distract our teammates either, but knowing what you have to do, the point is we have to be a little more loose. If you're constantly thinking about win this match, you don't open up on the match, and what good is it? I want you wrestling. The only thing I care about is getting you to 100%. Maybe we can't get to 100%, but bring out as much potential as you can. So that's good. So we said deep breathing. We said keeping an element of fun. And what's the other thing?
Hey, Coach, what's one other thing? And again, I'm just being honest.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot of fun, but right before a match, that would piss me off if people are goofing around.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed off when I got on the mat.
Yeah,
now, I don't know if that's good or bad.
It's
really,
but
it's work for me.
Yeah, and really
and there's, I think, guys in the room that maybe the fun is not an hour before match time. Maybe the fun is in practice. So is that like something that's...
It's really, you got to know yourself. You got to know yourself. Step 1 is always self-knowledge. So the first exercise I have a wrestler do when I work with a lot of people one-on-one, your top 3 best performances, your worst 3 performances. What were you thinking before and during each of those? So if your best matches you were pissed off, then I want you pissed off when you step out on the mat. It's just from what I see, most of the people who I talk to anyway, they're getting way too amped up in the match. They're thinking too much about the coaches, their parents, the expectations, the rankings. So for them, I like them to loosen up. But if you're the type of guy who needs to be pissed off, then you got to do that. There's no right and wrong. It's where's your individual zone of functioning. Where do you like to be? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You got to know yourself.
Now again, I would separate myself from these guys. If they need to be loose, I would go off to the other corner.
It's fine, yeah. Just you need to know what you need to do. Each one of you needs to know what you need to do individually. I'm telling you, it's that important. If you want to get as much out of yourself as possible, you need to know what you need to do, each and every one of you. And then you need to do it before the match. Even if 9 out of 10 people around you are treating it like this is the Olympic finals, if you need to treat it as just a nonsense, practice thing, that's what you got to do. Just don't let anyone else pull you from where you need to be. I'm not saying, it's not the hell with the team. You still have to follow the constraints of the team and do what the coaches are telling you. But maybe you want to communicate that with the coaches before. Hey, coach, maybe I get a little too worked up before my match. Is it okay if I have some fun? I talk to them. Can I do this before the match? There's got to be open line of communication between the coaches. You're young men. You're growing men. It can't be, it can't just be things are this way and then you don't communicate. You have to voice up. You have to voice up to, your teachers. You have to ask questions in class. You got to ask for the extra credit. You got to ask if you could stay after for extra help. You got to tell the coaches, hey, coach, can we do this? Do it in private. Don't you don't put the coach on in front of the team. Coach, I might need this before my matches. I might need this when I practice.
I mean, here's just one thing I'm thinking. Now our guys, when we're doing our warm up here, I can see us all, joking around and Coach Nudo ripping our head off. And I know they're all thinking that. So there's a difference between joking around and dicking around. There's a difference between joking around and dicking around. You guys understand what I'm saying?
No, it's funny. No, it's true. It's funny. It's straight notes, but it is true. Yes, there's got to be some sort of, and that's why the communication lines have to be open. We got to communicate with the coaches. Like what is acceptable? Like you guys can joke around within the parameters of the team rules. That's what we're talking about, like, or with the team expectations. All I'm here to say is that I'm not trying to get in trouble either way with coaches or wrestlers. My point is to say that wrestlers most people that I talk to tend to wrestle better when they're relaxed and loose and having more fun. Take from that what you will. Let's try to work something at the systems level of the team. Like, how can we do that? And that's just a matter of we got to be creative. We got to ask these questions. What can we do? How can we prepare? But it all starts with now we have the idea, build it in. Don't just leave it to chance. Don't just leave it at this talk right here. Let's think about what we can do. So, okay, so deep breathing, having some element of fun, and what was the third thing for a pre-match routine? Drilling, contact. Good. Why is that important?
So it's like start your motor.
Yeah. Get your motor running before the match, right? 2-minute period, that's plenty of time to get multiple points. You want your motor running when you step out there. So doing some hand fighting, doing some drilling. You know, there's a team we work with. You know, the coach said they came out flat the last time they wrestled. We had one guy who listened to what we said about drilling, and they said he was the only guy who didn't look like he came out flat. You know, we're not psychics here. I'm not telling you stuff just because, well, hey, let's make King Zenetti happy. No, you're not just making the coaches happy. We're trying to do what's best for you. So get your motor running before you step on the mat. You're drilling, you're hand fighting. You step out on the mat, you're already in there. Yeah.
I feel like sometimes in my matches, I'm getting like too tired and I feel like too weak than I should.
Well, right away in the beginning, you mean?
Yeah.
Like, so you
I
get.
just feel like jello.
Yeah. And it could be just like in the beginning of the match, or did you get into that first flurry, you mean, or you mean later on?
Yeah.
Just, Could be a nervous. It could be a little bit of nerves. I mean, I felt like that before too. The States, my junior year, I thought I was warmed up pretty well, and then right when I took the mat, I got into the first flurry. Felt like I was breathing pretty heavy. But then again, I didn't. I was warmed up, but I didn't have my pre-match routine. I didn't do the drilling. I didn't do deep breathing. So those were things that I would do to like counteract that. Acceptance, also accept that we're all going to be a little nervous before you step out on the mat. All of us, we're going to be a little nervous before we step out on the mat because it's important to us. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean there's a problem. It doesn't mean you're less of a man. It means you're a normal person. You know, you care about wrestling, so you're going to be a little nervous. It's one thing to worry, and it's another thing about worry. It's another thing to worry about being worried. So it kind of loosely relates to this a little bit, but not panicking as much just because we're nervous. The night before, understand that it's probably going to be a little bit difficult to get some sleep. But you don't have to get yourself too worked up. Oh, I can't go to sleep. Like, what's this going to mean for my performance tomorrow? So just have some acceptance that we'll all be a little bit nervous. I would really try the pre-match routine with the deep breathing, the drilling with the partner, and keeping it fun. I would see how you feel. I think you'll feel a little bit different. I think it'll help a lot. But that's normal. That's very normal. You know. And I was watching a thing on Corey Cooperman. He was a three-time All-American, I think, from Lehigh. And he was saying that he would go through 2-hour practices, not tired, and then he'd step out on the mat. First floor, he'd get tired. He'd say that's impossible. How can you wrestle a whole practice and get tired in 1 minute? And it's because, again, sometimes we're thinking too much. It's, you know, we have a lot of things going on in our mind. We're not being adequately warmed up, so just having a routine that you do, know what works for you. And that's what a lot of the stuff is, individualization. You have to know what works for you. The coaches try to give you what's going to work as a team, and that's why you have to do that. And then you have to take it a step further and say, okay, what else am I to do for myself? That's what I think separates from the good from the great. You know, you keep thinking and you say, well, what more can I do to prepare myself? So that should help out. Yeah. Got any other ones? Any other good questions here?
During my matches, I tend to think about other things besides wrestling.
All right. Like what?
Just like random stuff.
All right.
Like what's going on. I can't even explain it. It's like just random stuff, not wrestling.
All right. Well, it could be for a multitude of reasons. You know, like is it because you feel like you start feeling like stressed about the match, so you want to bring your mind somewhere else? Is it just being distracted, possibly, or is it or just kind of? I mean, is
a little bit of both.
Like, what kind of thoughts usually precede that? Are you a little nervous before? Is this happening while you're scoring points? Is it happening while you're getting beat? Like, let's identify those situations, I guess. I know it's tough.
It's just like during the matches, like from start to the beginning.
From the start to the beginning, you have different things going on in your mind?
Yeah, it's only some matches that I'll think about other things besides wrestling.
Well, I try to list those matches and see what was going on. Try to see, you know, I mean, try to like think about what was going on. Was it a specific thing that happened, like that triggered it? Was it once you got scored on? Was it, you know what I mean? Like, we might just need to take a little more time and think about why did that happen? And you can't think of it, it just kind of randomly happened?
Yeah.
All right, well, a simple thing could be, I guess, what can you do to snap yourself back into it? If you start having thoughts where you're wandering a little bit, what can you do to kind of bring yourself back? You know, does it have to be a clap? Do you have to give yourself a little face pat? Do you have to, you know, that's good for everyone. You know, because let's say you weren't Let's say it wasn't that you just started thinking about random things. Let's just say you got a bad call, right? Really bad call. It's going to happen, you know. These Jersey refs are going to be banged for stalling sometimes. You know, what are you going to do? How do you snap yourself back? Do you give yourself a little hand clap? Do you give yourself a pump? Do you take a deep breath? You know, I know it's important. I like always running back to the center of the mat, but maybe do you need to do that to reset? You all have a reset button. You know, the video games, they provide that for you. But how are you going to do it on your own? When there's maybe you make a mistake. You do something stupid, you get taken down, coach is yelling, oh, come on, you know, in the crowd, like it's going to happen. You're bound to be there. How do you reset? How do you forgive yourself? How do you let go? You know, is it a shakeout? Is it a clap? Is it a smack in the face? You know, so, you know, something you could do. What do you do yourselves? So just, I'd say have a reset button. What can you do? When you catch yourself, snap yourself back into it. You know, you think that might help a little bit? Can you think of anything you might be able to? I'm not picking on you. I'm just, you know, for the whole room, is there something you think you could do offhand? You don't have to come up with it right now. Just, is there anything you think you could do to try to bring yourself back? You know, we'll think about it. You know, think about when does it usually happen, and that doesn't just go for here. Like if you're the type of person who tends to get real mad during your matches, you know, you just start flipping out. You get too, you know, you start thinking too much. What can you do to snap yourself back? So have a reset button. You got to think about this stuff. You got to put the pen to paper. That's where you talk about the coaches also. That we have a series of 10 different worksheets you guys be able to do to actually put the pen to paper. These worksheets you could fill out between now and the end of the year to do these kind of things. So it's not just I come in here and talk to you guys, oh, it sounds great, and then we step out on the mat and we don't implement any of this stuff, you know? So taking the time to do these kind of things. All right. Got any other ones? Yeah.
Before my match, I always find myself like staring at my opponent on the other side and watching what he's doing, and like getting too worried about like him, and like if I know he's good, I'll go into the match.
Yeah.
Differently than I know if the kid's bad and I can beat him.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of things. First of all, very normal. It's a common thing that people do. You know, we size up our opponent, especially if we know who they are. And that's what I think you're doing. Coach team, you're doing that one thing. I don't know. You probably look at the papers and stuff, so you know who the guy wrestling, who they beat. So that happens. Again, a common thing, but taking that, factoring that out, you know, and just starting to treat the matches. It's just live wrestling. You wrestle good people in the practice room or at your club pretty regularly. So why is this any different? You know, it's like if we were going to wrestle, I don't know. I guess if they're, like say, like Ashnault, someone like him, right? If we're wrestling him in practice, we're just kind of wrestling our friend Anthony. It's like, oh, you're wrestling Anthony. But when we get into the match, we're like, ooh, we're wrestling Ashnault. And like the aura, we're wrestling their presence, which is a thing we all do. But it's something we have to get into the habit of not doing. We can't wrestle the name and the records we have person, you know? So those are little things you can do. And again, having that pre-match routine. So you're focused on the things you're going to do as opposed to the opponent is. That would help a lot. You know, again, head out of the papers, not. And some of you guys are going to get articles this year about yourselves. Instead of taking a look at them, absorbed in that, put them to the side, put them in a shoebox, look at those articles after the season, if you really want to look at them, but put that off. Stop going to those, the forums, the Shore Conference site, stop tweeting about, about wrestling, or, Facebooking about all that. Again, because all you're doing is you start building it up into an event. I'm sure you wrestle good people, in the room or somewhere else, or frequently, right? You're not tweeting about that at Facebook. Hey, tough practice today against a good guy. You're not thinking about that. So I wouldn't change it up for matches at all. I would keep everything, consistent. Yes.
I can't think of a question for this, but breaking mentally when after either practice gets hard or everything starts going wrong in a match and people just break mentally. I don't know if that goes back to resetting yourself, like you were telling Pat, or.
It could be. It could be resetting yourself. I guess we all kind of have different. We all have, I guess, a break, or things that set us off in different ways. Things that either maybe make us quit, make us, kind of give up, or not even necessarily like that. We all have things that happen that might get us to start thinking negatively, or to quit on ourselves, or to give less effort. That kind of thing. I think you have to identify each person. What it is that sets you off, and not, it could be setting you off with anger. It could be setting you off where you want to quit. Is it Is it negativity coming from a parent or a coach? Knowing if that's what it is, trying to address that with, with the parent or coach. If it's during the match or during a practice, what can you do to remind yourself? Like, then it kind of goes back to why are you wrestling? And I always say that you shouldn't be here if you don't like the sport. And it's a bold thing to do, come into a room and say, if you don't like it, leave, But if you're not having fun, if this isn't something you enjoy, I would just recommend doing something else because this is too difficult. Why is it that you're wrestling? I think everyone needs to get clear on that. Why are you wrestling? And I think if you're really trying to achieve something great, your reason almost has to be greater than reality. Great athletes, very rich people, they all have a reason, some sort of a reason why they're doing what they're doing. And it's not just the money. It's not just for the success. It's not just for the titles. It's because they're doing something for themselves or for a higher purpose that goes beyond winning, right? And I think when you have that inside you, when you have that faith in whatever it may be, you're going to be able to dig down deep when the going gets tough. Like, that's the thing you could reach back to. Because there are times where things are just too damn hard. It's human nature to say, you know what, I don't need this. And we just, we kind of quit on ourselves. But if you have that purpose, you can dig down deep. The whole thing is, though, if you don't have that purpose, if you don't know what your purpose is, it's really easy to pack it in when times are tough. Or maybe not when times are tough. Maybe we could fight through tough times, and then by the time the fifth thing hits us, we're done. We quit. So having that in the forefront of your mind, why you're doing what you're doing, what you're trying to, accomplish, not just, title-wise, but as a person in the sport. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah.
A little too abstract? I guess not really. You're just...
You answered my question.
Yeah. These are all good questions. Yeah, buddy.
This affects my wrestling in practice, but it affects everything. Say before school, I'm worried about what I'm gonna do in school, so I forget stuff while I'm getting ready, like my books.
Yeah.
When I'm doing something, I can never focus on what I'm doing. I always focus after. If I'm in practice,
Yeah.
Sometimes I won't focus about practice and I'll focus on what I'm doing after, and then if I'm in a match, what's going on after, or if I'm in first period, I worry about second.
Makes sense.
I can never focus on what I'm currently doing. I'm always scared of what's gonna happen after and where I'm gonna go.
Sure. Yeah, and that's we all have these very creative minds that we're all given, right? And a lot of times we don't use them effectively. Instead of thinking about being creative and thinking about all the opportunities for success, we think about all the opportunities for potential failure. Again, it's a very normal thing for people to do. That's where the deep breathing kind of comes in a little bit. When you look at the Eastern philosophies of meditation, taking deep breaths, it's regaining control of your energy and staying in the present moment. That's a hard thing to do because we don't live in a society where it's all about the present moment. They talk about, well, once you have this, you'll be happy. Once you have $1 million, you'll be happy. Once you have the state championship, you'll be happy. Once you get into the college, you'll be happy. Instead of you have to savor things. You have to live in the moment. And that means sometimes not multitasking, staying, I'm right here right now. What can I do right now? And that's just something just thinking about it and constantly pulling yourself back into the present moment, being mindful, experiencing life through your senses. Here I am, I'm right here. So being here, not being wherever else I'm going to be later on in the day. Just this is where I am, and the most important people in the world are the people who I'm in front of right now. The most important time is now, here in this moment. So just kind of practicing, just getting into that habit. If it's a little bit of organization, maybe you could do is get into the habit of writing things down a little bit more, doing whatever you need to do to stay a little more organized. That doesn't just go for you. I know time management and organization is something that you guys got to really want to buckle down with, because once college comes around, there's not going to be someone standing over your shoulder saying, make sure you put this in your planner, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. People aren't going to be reminding you. It's going to come down to, hey, you're doing it or you're not doing it. If you're not doing it, you're just going to get the F. So doing what you need to do to organize yourself, and then once you organize yourself, try to snap yourself again back into the present moment. Having a reset button in your mind. What can you do to, once you start drifting, pull yourself back to this moment.
Going off of what Brandon says and what I find with the high school guys, the school day, the grind of the school day, maybe failing tests, maybe fighting with a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Sometimes they carry that into the room where it becomes a long day.
It
They're up at 7 o'clock in the morning. They're not getting home till 7 o'clock at night. Monday and Tuesday are okay, but Wednesday, midweek, it starts wearing on them a little bit. That school grind.
Absolutely.
It's grind. The school day into a practice.
Yeah.
And I feel like we struggle there a little bit. So how do you reset after school to come into a practice midweek, rather than Monday, Tuesday? They're usually pretty good, but Wednesday, Thursday, you can see them dropping off a little bit.
Yeah, and again, it's a very normal thing. Like, we got to set up things. We got to keep things fun for us. We got to, and that's everything you're doing. How can you make wrestling a little bit more fun? I know we're here, we're trying to accomplish something, but keeping it fun, keeping it light in some ways. We have. That's got to be a priority. Prioritizing your rest and recovery. That's why being up late, talking to girls on Facebook, or whatever you guys like to do, or playing the text game. You got to be a little bit more disciplined on yourself during the season, because what's going to happen is you need this energy and rest and relaxation. Your friends might be able to go out and stay up real late for this period of time. How many more weeks are left in the season? 6, 7, whatever it is? I don't know why I asked that. I guess, because we have a short period of time. Short period of time, Then you could go on to doing more of those like social type things. But right now, you have to prioritize your rest, your recovery, and your well-being. You have to have some things you're able to do, on the weekend or at night or at different points during the day to reset yourself. Can you listen to a comedy? Can you watch a funny YouTube clip? Like, is there something you could do to break up day? Is there something you could do to, recover at night? And it's not necessarily, being up real late talking to people. Obviously, I don't think I have to really even cover the whole, partying and all that type of stuff. That really ought to be out during the season. You could do fun things with friends. Social, there could be social things, but yeah.
A lot of the time, it's not just like the stuff that you have to do. A lot of times, I'll be up to 1:30 in the morning just doing homework, and then I still have stuff to do. I still have, I'll come home. I have college essays to write. I have applications to fill out. Stuff I need to send in on top of my homework, and then on top of wrestling, and on top of other schoolwork that I have to do.
Yeah.
So it's stuff that you have to do that you can't just
Sure.
take a break and watch TV or something.
Yeah, well, it's just, time management becomes even more crucial for you then, time management becomes crucial. It's like, how do you, and use the people you have around you. Talk to coaches, talk to, a teacher, talk to someone who's, who manages time. What can you do? Get strategies. There's always strategies. You can't be afraid to step up and ask some questions. I'm not saying you are or anything, but clearly you're not. You're asking the questions here, but making sure you find those strategies. Talk to coaches. What can I do? Talk to your teachers. Is there a better way? Because you could be studying. There could be a lot of studying, but is there a way that you could study more effectively? I could study for 4 hours, in a way that's just studying, just straight studying. But if I study for 1 hour solid, the exact way that I need to study, maximizing my strengths, studying the purpose, you get more short of time. I think back and I'm like, man, college was a lot easier as far as the grind than high school was. High school was tough. So these aren't easy. Just because I'm saying this stuff to you guys doesn't mean I'm saying, oh yeah, you got this, no problems. It's a joke. It's not. You got to take your time management serious. You got to take your rest and recovery. What can you do on the weekends or after a match to recharge your battery? That doesn't include gorging yourself with food. Is it, what is it? Can you watch a movie? Take a nice hot bath. I always like that, so I always use that example. What can you do? What do you like? What works for you? So have ways you recharge your battery, I would say, and as best as you can.
When you're talking about keeping it fun, practice isn't fun. How do they make practice fun?
Got to be creative. Got to find a way to be creative.
They're all thinking practice isn't fun. How do you make a practice fun? The worst practice, or how do you make it fun?
More competition.
What's that?
More competition.
But you could be having something that you're trying to accomplish in that practice. Is there something that you're going to do? Setting smaller goals throughout the day during practice. So setting goals during the practice, what you're going to try to do. The Gable headband usually works. You put tape around your head like Dan Gable. Now you're thinking that you're in the 72 Olympics as opposed to being in this practice room. It's just be creative. Can you change the music? Can the music be a little bit better? It's not fun, but how can we make it more fun than it is right now? If we have a scale of 0 to 100 on the fun meter, we'll call it, and we're at a 10 right now, if I could get you to 20, I'm happy. Maybe it'll never go up past the 20, but let's get it from a 10 to a 20. How do we make it more bearable? How do you make your studying a little more bearable? How do you make school a little more bearable? Without being a complete, screw off in class. How do you make this all a little more bearable? How do you make it more fun? So it's just a matter of being...
Guys, what he's talking about, I know you're all thinking, make practice fun. That doesn't mean we play dodgeball. I mean, maybe we start off with dodgeball. That doesn't mean we do something for 2 hours that are fun. It's you got to make the fun out of it. Pretend that you're Jordan Burroughs and watch films on him and come in the next day and try to hit a Jordan Burroughs double. You know, it's like when you're growing up and you watch Michael Jordan play basketball. Everybody in this room is trying to hit on that Nerf basket, that last second shot for the winner. Well, you got to take that into wrestling a little bit. Watch some of your favorite college wrestlers and try to hit some of the stuff that they're hitting in here. You know, watch some film and see what they're hitting and then pretend you're them. It sounds crazy, but it's the truth. You remember being a kid and pretending you're LeBron James trying to hit that last second shot. Well, pretend you're Jordan Burroughs trying to hit a last second takedown or a double in the Olympic finals. Take yourself out of the room and put yourself, someplace else. That's what it's about. That's fun.
Can you wear different color socks? Can you in between practice, like maybe, okay, drilling's got to be serious, lab's got to be serious. I mean, seriously, you got to be doing things in a certain way. But how about during the water break, can you take that opportunity to laugh and joke around with your friends a little bit? You know, like maybe you need to prioritize that. Instead of, I know sometimes I'd want to just get away from everyone and just kind of, wash my face under the water. But maybe I need to prioritize joking around with my friends a little bit during that period of time to recover my mindset. You know, so it's just got to be creative. How do we make it a little bit more bearable, a little more fun? And it's just good to, this is a starting point. You know, here we are, we're talking about it. Now we got to be creative and figure out a way to implement it within the limitations and within the structure of the team. So that's where we're getting at with that. These are good questions, solid stuff. Last 2 places, good questions. Good. Well, we're gonna be around. We'd like to come one more time.
Gene, we got a couple guys that have aspirations in the postseason.
Yeah.
So maybe you can address the. I know you don't like to talk about your story, but when you got screwed over in the States and how you recovered to come back and wrestle. Because some of these guys that have postseason aspirations, they're all going to lose at one point or another.
Yeah.
And they need to be able to recover in their regions, or recover in the states. You know, they're not going to win them all, so they got to figure it out before they just go back and the loss turns into another loss. And we have some bad mindsets when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So maybe just kind of tell your story real quick about, because that was probably the most mentally tough thing I've ever seen in my life, is what happened to you and how you recovered. So maybe share what you did to do that, because that was pretty special.
Thank you. This tough thing. Okay, so we're referring to here first and foremost. So it's up 6-3. This is the state quarterfinals, and my goal is obviously to be a state champ. You know, I wanted to be the best in the state and everything. And I was up 6-3 with 26 seconds left in the match. I was winning. I was on top, and I got hit with my first stall call, my first warning at 26 seconds. I wound up getting hit. First one's a warning, obviously, and then one at one point, and I got hit the last stall call 2 seconds left in the match. So I was up 6-5 with 2 seconds left in the match, still on top. Got hit with the last stall call, 2 seconds left. Wound up losing the match 7-6. So, being up by
26 seconds.
Yeah. So, during that period of time, it was like, obviously you feel cheated, you feel like you're robbed out of your dream right there. But in my mind, I always had my purpose in my mind. It wasn't just, it was to be a state champion, but it went a little bit beyond that. And I said, I believe I'm the best wrestler in the state. And if you think about that, state champion, best wrestler in the state, that might go a little bit beyond winning. Maybe, but the way I looked at it in my head was that, I can't control the referees. If I could come back and if I could take third, in my mind, I could believe that I'm still the best wrestler in the state. So again, I think it's the searching deep down and saying, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, it's that, why are you doing the sport? And having that reason that's greater than reality. And I think for me, to, telling myself, believing that, I was the best, or even maybe not even be the best, but that you're capable of beating anyone. Right? Even if I don't beat everyone, but I want to prove to myself I'm capable of beating everyone. That goes a little bit beyond the wins and the losses. So I pulled it together, wound up taking third. I got that kid for third. I wound up beating him. But it's just a matter of going back to the reason why you're doing it. What are you trying to do with wrestling? It's got to be beyond the wins. And you can't let one loss cause another one. It's okay. It's okay if you lose a match. You get beat. You get beat. Looking back at my wrestling career, that's all I can do now is look back at my wrestling career, my brothers, and other people, who've had a wrestling career. It's not the losses people I was this kid, but the big but right there is that I didn't throw my best stuff at them. All right, you'll get over the loss. You know, I'm past the hole that I got banged with the soft balls and the ref, I believe, took the match. That's not the. What I look back and I think of was I was riding the kid with the legs the whole time, and then in the last 30 seconds of the match, I switched up my ride because I just wanted to hold him down. Instead of, I started going to see the kid. And because I changed my style, it makes it, because I made it important, I made it special. I said, these 26 seconds are special, so I changed my style. And because I changed my style, in a short period of time, I wound up losing. You know, so I should have got legs and rode him like a cowboy like I was doing before. Now, that's what I thought, and that's what I look back now and say. So it's your attitude that you're going to look back and regret. You know, I packed it in. Man, I could have kept going, but because it's okay if they beat you once. Don't let someone beat you. That's ridiculous. You know, don't give that up. And we all make the mistake one time or another. It's not bad if you did it in the past. I've made a mistake in the past. Just because I came back that match doesn't mean there weren't other times in my wrestling career where I didn't let a guy beat me twice. Just start. Don't do that. You know, don't let someone beat you twice. You can't. You can see where you're going, not where you've been. Right? Move forward. Don't look in the past. Turn through the rearview mirror. That's what I'd say about that. Is that the main topic, Stu? Is it the main bouncing back from the loss we were talking about? Yeah. And staying hungry and having that higher purpose. Man, I feel like I've been talking for a while. where are we at? How are we looking? Okay. Yeah, you know, I'd like to come maybe sometime again before the districts, and but again, same thing. Treat everything. Start implementing.